down to your team. If your team's frustrated with the client, it's going to pass down to other clients. So I have no problem putting in the contract very clearly what it is. And so we put in there, no other chefs in the kitchen. Like, I don't care if you bring somebody in-house or externally, they're not consulting on SEO because it's going to create a conflict. We don't talk, we're unavailable on weekends. We're unavailable after hours. This is the limitation. This is very specifically what we do. We can do other stuff, but this is what we feel is ideal for the best bang for the buck on what you need, under what circumstances, and how competitive your campaign is, blah, 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 blah. Like, whatever it is, I'll put it in there because it's not weird unless you make it weird. So if you put it in there and explain why and justify it, then it solves your headache, proactively prevents problems, and then everybody's happy. They have realistic expectations. And then honestly, they respect you more because when the opportunity comes up for them to infringe on that scope, then they say, okay, well, he's drawn the line in the sand and I got to respect that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm 100% with you at this point on Yeah. I think I got to get my contract tighter. I'll have to have Brittany reach out and be like, "Hey,
I'm going to have to send you a little screenshot of our little paragraph."
Yeah, what's your scope creep for a paragraph that you have? Yeah. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I really like that. Thanks for the advice on that one.
There you go.
That's I learn something new every day.
Thanks, Daniel. Been good talking.
See you guys. See ya. So where do you see the future of internet marketing? I've heard a lot about voice recognition. You got Amazons, you got Googles, you got all these things now, where I can go to Alexa and order food or order whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I find that it's just getting bigger. I'm voice, on here, voice, hey, look this up. And so where is this whole thing, like, in 20 years, are we going to have websites, or is it just going to, it's probably going to appear with a Neuralink
in your head,
right? In our head.
Yeah.
But who's going to decide that? Because is it going to be SEO, or is it going to be a company with that technology? Like a Google, right?
Yeah, I don't think SEO is going away anytime soon for a couple of reasons, because one of the main obvious reasons is that anytime a platform goes entirely paid, a paid model, it dilutes their credibility. So just like when you go to Facebook, whether you go to Facebook and like if you just saw nothing but ads in your wall, you'd stop using Facebook. If you went to Google and you saw nothing but ads, you'd stop using Google. So they have to maintain some sort of transparency in the types of results that they provide from a non-paid model. So that's one reason why I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And then, websites, you own that asset. And when you start getting into Facebook pages, Facebook pages are probably a perfect example. Like when you don't own the platform, you don't know when it's going to live and die. So Facebook pages were hot a couple of years ago. Now the organic reach is like less than 0.1%. They're virtually dead. And so anybody it may have been worth investing the time back then, but not now. So there's a certain value in the assets that you own. I'm sure the way websites will exist will evolve, but I think they'll still be around. And as far as like the voice example, what you have to understand is that all these new things back into really core pillars of SEO or marketing in general. And so what I mean by that is voice, when we're optimizing a client's website, like I'm not over here and have my team doing voice drops that Google's going to pick up later. The way Google outputs, and I emphasize the word output, is it outputs the voice, but the answer that it found for the input is just a regular website. It's the website that it could find the quickest and trust the most, that had the best content. And so it's just making that answer audible. So if you reverse engineer that, it's just a good website. It's a website that loaded quickly. It's a website that's mobile friendly. It's a website that had a good answer. And so anytime there's, at least so far, anytime it's been voice, it's just regular SEO. When mobile started becoming a hot thing in 2016, it's still just good design, good user experience, quick page load. So far, everything is just backed into a standard practice of good marketing, good SEO, which is good user experience, quick load, good content, original solutions, answers, products, whatever. So today, there hasn't been anything really new beyond the core process. And I think if you look at that as a marketer and stop getting distracted by the new shiny object things and stick to those core pillars and whatever your scope of work is, you're going to have a longer, credible business existence than the turn and burn process of getting distracted by all the new things.
So do you find that a lot of people get distracted based upon they have no clue what the future is going to hold, but they see other people attempting to do it and they're like, oh, I got to go do this too. And it really gets them off track of their real game plan for their business.
Oh, for sure. I mean, how many people did you know 2 years ago that had never heard of ClickFunnels and now they're funnel hackers? And that's not to say there's anything wrong with ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is awesome for the purpose that it exists. But anytime a new shiny thing comes on, I mean, how many people do you know that are TikTok experts all of a sudden when TikTok's been around for what, like a year? Like these things are only around long enough for them to gain fame and then die or evolve or get replaced by something. And so you have a longer lifespan in business when you understand the core fundamentals. So even if, I'm mentoring my wife's nephew right now, he just graduated high school. And so he's like, what do I do? Where do I start? I want to go into the internet world, but where? And so I don't want to say do SEO, right? I don't want to say like follow my path, but so what I did is I said, here's all the things that exist. There's web design, there's SEO, there's PPC, there's Facebook ads, there's funnels. Go spend 2 weeks just jumping down the YouTube rabbit hole, figure out which one you kind of think you'd like, and then we'll go down that path. So he ends up coming back and saying, all right, I want to go down this path. And so regardless of what path he picked, where I was going to start him was web design. And the reason why is because all of those other things lean back on basic, you don't necessarily have to know web design, but you have to know web terminology. Like when you're doing a paid ad and you have to point it to a landing page, if you don't know anything about websites and URL structures, how are you going to point them to a landing page? If you're doing a paid ad and the ad quality score sucks because you don't know copywriting, like go learn copywriting, basic copywriting for your website. So all these things, regardless of what they are, even if you're doing the ClickFunnels, like you have to know basic HTML, you have to know how to add a hyperlink, you have to know upload an image. All of those things there's a lot of value in just understanding the basics of web design, even if you're not going to pursue that as a long-term goal. It's really going to help you understand the broader picture of all the other possibilities.
Yeah. I like how you frame that out, because so for like my nonprofit, for instance, we applied for a grant up to 10,000 a month in Google ads.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have awareness, what's out there and everything else. And then video content, I think, has been a huge part of our growth and how people see us and recognize us. Yeah. But it's interesting because so tell me this. So there's like my business, for instance, through the nonprofit now, we go get contracts. So a contract is a corporate organization, mainly public entities, law enforcement, educators that we train. And so there's a whole system. Either you apply for an RFP, and send in a proposal, or you have to go build out a whole entire contract. So it's a whole different than selling a product. So it's more awareness for the platform. From what I've seen, I'd love your opinion on this because you're the expert. Obviously, I'm telling you how to do this right now. Yeah. So it's like more awareness, at least for me, than if I have a product, I have a coffee, I have a cell phone, I have a whatever product that I'm actually selling online or that I'm selling a service to. Because it takes maybe 6 months to a year to put a relationship together, but they're very niche people in a very specific position. What's your feedback on that?
But most of your clients are nonprofit and government based. That's what you're saying?
Mostly government based, public schools.
The only reason why I ask is I want to say, God bless you. Like you have way more patience than I do. The moment I hear RFP, like I'm out.
So that's why I started my for-profit school system is because number one, I couldn't get the right talent, through a nonprofit. I literally people are like, how are you a for-profit? I'm like, here's the thing. You go start a nonprofit school system. And the only difference between a for-profit and nonprofit is the tax exemption. That's all it is. In December, I can keep all my money. I don't have to pay for taxes. Problem is try to go launch 10, 20, 50 schools on nonprofit. Where are you going to go get the funding from? You're going to ask everybody for, $250,000 to go start a new school. Like, how are you going to get that many people to invest by not getting a return? And people are like, but I mean, there's no difference. So it's so funny because some of my team has said, eventually somebody's going to hammer us for the for-profit schools because we're profiting off of education. I'm like, yeah, and I can show them where all my money goes back into.
Yeah, you need them to support each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be a win-win, because all I want to do, at least with profit that I get for building something, is to put it back into a school system and build more schools. I don't need to take 10 million a year. I don't need to take $1 million a year. Like, my other companies do, like I made more money on the stock market this year than I make as a salary. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, all right. So where do you want me to touch on, like the life cycle of attracting clients?
So specifically for, I would say let's just generally, like, for my business that just wants to have a website and let's say this, let's school, like my schools, right? So we have multiple schools in South Florida. Right now we have, we don't do much internet marketing because there's a lot of referrals from community leaders and maybe other schools and DJJ and foster care and stuff like that. So we have a lot of community partners. Mm-hmm. Because what I find is, specifically with my market, the parents of my kids are usually below 30,000 income.
Yeah.
They don't have a laptop at home. They have social media. A lot of them don't have high school diplomas, or definitely not college diplomas, a majority of them. They're amazing humans, but they, if they go online, they're going to search, they're usually going to get a referral from somebody to go somewhere. And, it's sometimes it's challenging because they don't speak English to even fill out an application, right? So we have a partner organization that does a lot of that stuff for them. So it's very hard, from my experience, to be able to drive traffic because they're not searching for it. They're getting it from somebody else.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that come to mind, and obviously it's going to depend on the industry. So with your example specifically, it comes from education. So a lot of times you have to tap into the thought process of your ideal audience and not try to show up for the obvious sales pitch query, but you need to try to show up for the random question that they have that gets their foot in the door, that introduces them to your product. So this is like a really off-topic example, but it's one that comes to mind, and it's a funny story, and I hope that it will translate well. So like when we were working with the Utah Jazz, what we had to figure out was, okay, we want to sell more jerseys. And we want to sell them to not only newer players, but also legacy players like Karl Malone. So what we had to do is figure out, what the hell are people searching for about Karl Malone that would be that ideal audience? And so one of the things that revealed itself, and I can give you guys a free tool, is there's a website called answerthepublic.com. So if you go to Answer the Public, what it does is it collects data from Google autocomplete and different areas where consumers will input questions. And it builds out this visual chart of the who, what, when, where, and why of your question. So when we typed in Karl Malone, it revealed all these cool things that we would have never thought about, because obviously we would think about Karl Malone jerseys, Karl Malone hats, Karl Malone merchandise. But we wanted to get beyond that to find out who is... beyond the obvious buyer, what types of things would they be searching? And this is where I hope it's close enough of an example. So you have to get past your customer that just searches private school or whatever that query is that gets them right in. Like, that's a given, but you want to get past that, because there's more people that search something else. They don't know about the possibilities. They don't know about school opportunities, and they don't know the solutions that you have. So just like in this Karl Malone example, what we found out was one of the queries that people would ask is, how did Karl Malone die? But Karl Malone's not dead. So it doesn't matter that they're wrong. That is a question that your customer wants answered. And so you have to figure out a way to find those, and Answer the Public is a great opportunity to do that, and then create the content around that to educate them, because then once you've educated them, then you've earned their trust, and then you stay top of mind. So like in that example, then they come in and, maybe we use that as a topic to say,
yes. I love where you're going. Okay, keep going. This is amazing. Okay.
So then we say, all right, the top 10 myths of how Karl Malone died. So you